Crucifixion of Christ was a hologram? Bringers of the Dawn has something to say about it. Stay tuned as we focus on chapters 9 and 10 of Bringers of the Dawn by Barbara Marciniak. Welcome back to Hollywood Frequency, Bringers of the Dawn discussion and summary points by Barbara Marciniak. I'm Leonard Elijah.
I'm Byron Booker.
We thank you so much for taking this journey with us. And if you haven't seen the previous videos or you're new to this channel, please subscribe, like, and share. We're covering Bringers of the Dawn. Our goal is to expand and raise consciousness in every way possible in a positive direction. We go through the Bringers of the Dawn. We have affirmations. We have affirmations explanations. We have summary points. This is chapter 9 and 10. And without further ado, let's hop right in. You ready, Byron?
Let's do it.
Chapter 9 is called Profound New Boundaries. One of the changes in lifestyle that occurred during this century was the introduction of movies. A whole new way of influencing thought was brought to the planet by the film industry. Just as there is a movie industry on this planet, there are also those in space who have a holographic industry. They make holographic inserts, also known as dramas, to look just like they're real and insert them into portals into your reality. And this has been happening for hundreds and thousands of years, and humanity's frequencies have been controlled, and we've been hoodwinked, the book says, by this. And holographic inserts have been used on Earth to manipulate and control consciousness and to change the story of information to one of disinformation. They don't bring light, and they have ulterior motives, although they may pass them off as light. This is a very interesting concept, basically saying that, there's a Hollywood or a holographic film industry in space, and it's used to deceive us. And many times it comes as looking as light, but the reality is it's not. And they are able to broadcast these holograms through these portals. And in other chapters, we've talked about portals, but we'll touch on them as well in this one. Holographic experiences, especially viewings in the sky, are set up to influence a large group of people at once. Many, though not all, UFO sightings have been holographic inserts. There have been holographic inserts of one individual designed in many fashions, projected simultaneously in many different cultures. That is why some of Earth's religious stories are parallel from one corner of the world to another when there was no physical contact. So, really interesting, it's saying that, look, you may have had multiple sources agree on the same story because many of those different sources saw it. Just like if we all saw a movie, if I saw a movie and Byron saw a movie and a friend of mine, let's just say Joe, sees a movie and then we call and we talk about it, we all saw the same movie. But in this case, it's not a movie, it's a hologram. But it's taken as reality because we don't know the difference. And the book talks about how that creates emotions. And those emotions, in many cases, if they're fear-based or anxiety-ridden or chaotic emotions, non-love emotions, we actually are feeding these negative entities, which is what they desire anyway. And it's another system of control. They're used to influence the mind of the observers. And the book goes on to say, we will have plenty of practice in the next number of years where in the Middle East and other areas around this planet, a lot of extraterrestrial activities come into full force and are being published. Some of the grand events will be very legitimate, and some of them will be inserts designed to move the consciousness of humanity towards one world order to be controlled. Now, the book goes on to say we can walk into them or we can participate in them, and people may be a part of them, and they'll swear they were real because they're going to see them just like if they saw a movie, but this is actually outside, it's not on your TV screen. But these are orchestrated events that are designed to influence the mind of the humans. Holographic inserts are not done for information. It's very important, the book points out. They're done for control. They're a simple aspect of technology that exists. Realities can be constructed and inserted just like movies. There are other very evolved beings who cleverly create realities that feel real, so real that we can't tell the difference. Just like spotlights are projected onto the night holographic inserts are projected onto this planet through portals. So just like when you look, if you don't know what a spotlight is, you look in the sky, you see a stream of light. You may think there's actually something there, but the reality is it's just on the bottom of the ground, there's a spotlight, you know? A silly example, but it makes sense. Tremendous energy is needed because this process involves the merging of dimensions. So how they're able to do this is by merging dimensions. The technology does not exist in the third dimension. It exists in other dimensions. So they have to merge a higher level dimension technology into the third dimension to make this work. We are fooled because of the unevolved helixes that information could plug into. The family of light has come to change all of that. We are here to carry a new frequency to the planet, the frequency of love, and we have to hold it so that the rest of the planet can begin to vibrate at that same frequency. The frequency is going to create disruption for these types of events. So the book has said that the eyes, ears, and nose and mouth and sense of touch, which we have called our 5 senses, which we've been told from the beginning are very important. The book goes on to say they're deceivers of reality. They lock in reality. You think you're perceiving reality and these senses, from these senses, when in actuality they limit our perception of reality. Feeling or knowing, intuitiveness, the psychic self has been jammed by frequency control. So they say we have an intuition, a feeling that we can know what's real and what's not real. But unfortunately, that frequency has been jammed by frequency control. So we haven't been able to tap into it as much as we should to be able to get that feeling to know whether it's like a hologram or not. Within the physical body, they say, the book says we're millionaires. We must learn to use our feeling center and to activate that information inside of us. We must learn to trust and use it. With that, we will be able to recognize holographic inserts by just that feeling alone. They won't feel right. Something will feel fishy, strange, and feel like they're here to control us. They're used to ride our emotions to a certain point so others can feed off of them. Like I mentioned earlier, they create these emotional highways of energy that they eat off of, literally. There's a gigantic portal. The book goes on to say there's a gigantic portal in the Middle East, and it's a dimensional doorway or entryway onto the planet for certain energies to find civilization. There are portals in South America as well, North America, Asia, China, as well as all over the globe. The Middle East is a portal where many dimensions meet and where entities from other dimensions can come onto this planet. In the last 40 or 50,000 years, many civilizations have surfaced and many religious dramas have started in the Middle East. Because of this vortex, holographic inserts are easier to produce in that area, just like movies are easier to produce in California. Interesting, right?
Must be the sunshine.
A potential holographic insert in this portal is the arrival of extraterrestrials from space, or Christ returning, the book says, or some God returning, or some savior, or some reason for everyone to begin to follow a way of thinking. Remember, they talk about control. Does it feel like they're controlling us by this insert? Something that God doesn't do, the prime creator doesn't do, is it doesn't impede upon our free will. So when we feel like we're being controlled, our intuition is telling us we're being controlled, there's a ulterior motive by the things that we're seeing. At this time as we see it, it's not of light. An example of a holographic insert that was put on the planet in the past to change the course of history, the book says, is the crucifixion of Christ. The drama that was played out and passed on historically to you is not the reality that the Christed One came into play. A version of this entity's life was molded and designed in a holographic entertainment movie, which was then inserted and played out as if it was real. Christ came in a committee of beings over a period of time. The story that you have been told is dramatized, marketed version of a very controlled version of who this entity was and is. Again, this is what the book is saying. Part of the Christ drama you've been taught was a holographic insert. So they're saying part of it, not all of it. Again, this is the book. Don't get upset. You can leave your comments below of what you think. Please do. For Christianity, they were all said and done by patriarchal organizations that promoted themselves. That was all they were. They were utilized to bring back control of the energy on the planet. In reality, the Christed One was sent as a system buster, a member of the family of light. to bring light through the portal in the Middle East. So we are system busters as well. Family of Light are called system busters. We go into where people don't want to go, and we bring light to darkness. The Christed One came not as one entity, but as a number of entities, influencing people in humanity's dark hour, an hour where human beings were ready to understand their mysteries. One of the things that was not promoted to you in a very thoughtful way was the Christed One was very well accepted. The kind of energy that the Christed beings brought to this planet was received very well. And that makes sense to me that people would receive the Christed One's energy well. If you've ever been around anybody who has an elevated energy, a good energy, a good vibe, as we call it, you would be happy to be around that person. You would actually look forward to being around that person. Wouldn't you, Byron?
Yes. However, what we've learned from history, when we let's not look at Christ, let's look at MLK, let's look at Gandhi, let's look at a lot of people who've been champions of busting systems, people who are just radical to disrupt the powers that be. They're very well received by the people, but they're not necessarily well received by the establishment.
Oh yeah, well that's not what it's saying. It's not saying the establishment received them well. It's saying that it's saying that they were received well by people, you know?
Yeah, and that has always been the case. That's always been the case. The people.
Well, the system doesn't want to be busted, right?
Right.
So the establishment is a system, and it doesn't want to be busted. But the people are not the system. The people are not the establishment.
Yeah, and I think that is one way of saying it, that it hasn't been truthfully told, that it's been well received. But I think it's all about what perspective. I think that it has been written in history that the system busters are received well by the people, except the people in power, the people who have the authority to kill them a lot of times, are the ones that are very, very not too
accepting. They're not accepting of it.
So there's it is true, but it's also true that it is they're not received well by the establishment, which are just the limited people, the very small population that
they have power and control.
Power. So they have limited in numbers, but high in influence. I would say it like that.
I agree. The book goes on to say there's a number of dramas going on with the Christ entity. There is the original blueprint, the plan of the Christed committee to come in, to spread light or information, and to show humans what the human body is capable of doing. So that's what they're saying that the Christ entity was, the plan of the Christ entity was to do. Mm-hmm. Again, to come in, to spread light or information, and to show humans what the body is capable of doing.
Right.
Then
I would like to expand on that later.
Sure. Do you want to do it now?
Well, obviously there's a lot of people who this is a radical idea too, but this is not the first time I've heard of this idea.
Wait, hold on a second. You're saying it's a radical idea that the Christed committee came in to spread light and information and show the humans what the body is capable of doing?
Well, okay, amongst Christians, right? So obviously the crucifix was mentioned, or the crucifixion was mentioned in a couple of paragraphs before that or earlier in this chapter, which I'll expand a little bit more. But the mission that the Christ that written in the New Testament talks about, that he did miracles. He healed the sick, caused the blind to see, walked on water. But he himself said, according to the New Testament, that he's going to actually die.
We haven't got there yet. Hold on a second.
Yeah. But when you talk about,
I'm about to get there. That's the next few sentences.
Since you asked me to comment now, you said what the human body is capable of. The human body. So I'm only referencing this passage of what the human body is.
Okay, go on.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is that Christ said, I'm going to show you what you are capable of, what the human body is capable of, by raising myself up. So this is something that was spoken. Now I'm going to show you that you want to see something? I'm going to show you something. And everybody was like, I don't know. The 12 disciples, I don't know. This is getting kind of crazy. I'm looking at people getting crucified. Rome is not playing. You gonna raise yourself up? Okay. We're going to see. And of course, there was a lot of doubt during that time. I'm going off of the New Testament. So the human body and what is capable, this is the ultimate claim of what the human body is capable of, right? So I'm just going to leave that there. I'm just going off of the claim of what is possible.
All right, so then it goes to the other side of it. So that was what they say the original plan was.
Right.
Then the book goes on to say, then there are the beings who said, what are we going to do about this? This one is coming out in our portal, and we want control over this portal. How are we going to be able to use this energy? It is a free will universe.
Yeah.
And I'm going to add this, which means everything is allowed.
Right.
Back to the book, it says, and we can do what we want. So now the book goes on to say, so they created a holographic insert of the drama of Christ being crucified to create fear and emotion out of someone else's intentions and to move consciousness in a way that was not originally intended at all. This means that in the free will universe, it is possible, particularly in portal areas, for one group of gods to raid another story and insert their own version of it. At the time, perhaps, this does not affect many, although over the time, the impact of the holographic insert is eventually known. We know this is frustrating for many of you, the book says. Yet we are doing this, yet what we are doing by sharing this information with you is getting you to move, feel, and remember, and not think so much. This is not a process of logical thinking, it is a process of feeling. What is going on in your body right now? Ask yourself, what is my identity? How can this be? Who am I within it? Then you'll begin to release more of who you are to yourself, and you'll be able to figure out many things. So, wow. First off, that's a lot. That's a lot.
Yeah.
Very interesting how they said it and how they did it. Because you know what? Like you said, many people are going to hear this. And let's just take it back. What was the hook to this whole video, right? I said the crucifixion of Christ was a hologram. That's a hot button, right?
Yeah.
So that's why the book asks you, what's your identity? How can this be? Who am I within this? What's going on in your body when you hear that?
Yeah.
There's certain things that have been programmed in our body and our mind since we were able to receive programming.
Right.
You know, the idea of you're born in sin, for example, that's been programmed in a lot of people's minds. You're born in sin. I don't believe that. I don't think I was born in sin. I mean, that's a bit harsh to take on. I haven't even done anything. I'm just born here. How am I born in sin?
Right.
So there's these doctrines that are pushed onto us.
Right.
And there's many more. That's just one example.
Yeah.
And you know, I don't really believe a God of unconditional love would tell us you're born in sin.
Yeah.
But anyway, this is what this is telling you here. What you can get out of it on a low level is that you know, there's control, frequency control. There's holographic mastery that's come from certain higher level beings that know how to play games with our emotions as they do and create dramas as they do in the movie industry. They're able to do it on a higher level using these portals. And in this case, they're saying that it seems to me that they're saying that the Christ's intention was very good, that he came down to bring light and love and information. And I think it sounds like he was able to do it as well. However, at the same time, there are those dark entities that said, well, you know what? It's free will universe, and that's good that he did that, but let's distort it. And generally speaking, a lot of things have been distorted over the years. It's like the game of telephone, even if it's unintentional, which in this case, they're saying it's intentional. Something I heard, and you can kind of confirm if historians believe this or not, Byron, but I heard that Jesus never wrote down anything. He only once wrote down something in the sand or in the dirt, and then he cleaned it off. You know, he cleaned it off so you couldn't see it. And they said, why don't you write anything down? And Christ said, because anything I write down, human beings can distort it after I go. I want to be a living example, because that's something that can't be distorted. And I found that to be very interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting, because it's so true, you know?
Yeah. I would like to say, and I'll be brief, but basically, I would like to say that what you said about the writing is very true, in the sense that the Gospels were all written by a human account, but also by spiritual information or spiritual communication, telepathic communication, that to bring in remembrance everything that is account. So this is how it was documented historically. The people that were there wrote it down and remembering back after Christ had left, right? So that is true. Also, when Jesus came on the scene, of course, Judaism had been around for centuries, and Rome was in rule at that time. And here Jesus comes, a system buster to the whole established, Jewish faith, and says that, okay, you want to persecute me because I perform miracles on the Sabbath. I'm working on the Sabbath, and now you want to use the law of God to condemn me, right? And Jesus says, well, here's the whole of the law. You've got a lot of rules. You got the 10 Commandments, and there's a bunch of other rules that, including I can't work on Sunday or the Sabbath, Saturday, actually. And he says, well, here's the whole law. Love God, love your neighbor as yourself. And that's it. That's the whole encompassing of the law. And
what are those again? Give us those laws again.
It says, love God with all your heart, your mind, your soul. Love your neighbor as yourself. And that's all of it. There's a lot of rules that you can throw at me, but that's everything. And they said, well, that's blasphemous. Who are you to come and say?
See, that's beautiful. That's beautiful because that's non-impedance upon your free will. See, right. By telling someone, thou shalt not do this, thou shalt not do that, those are all great ideas, and they have good intentions behind them. But the reality is, it's a free will density. This is a free will density. So thou shalt not doesn't fall into free will. That's an impedance upon your free will. Right. So loving thy neighbor as thyself is a kind of realizing we're all one, right? Because love thy neighbor as yourself. How you love yourself is how you love others. So we're all one. Yeah. That's really great. And what was the other rule?
Love God with all your heart, which is the first, and the second is love your neighbor as yourself.
Which means you're loving yourself too, because we're all one and we're a part of the Creator, right?
Yeah, but also just in reference to the question that you said about, writing it all down. Jesus said basically the law, the will of God is going to be written on your hearts now, not in tablets. It's not the letter of the law, but the spirit. So, in other words, this whole thing of life is not a rule book that says, oh, okay, I walk in the room, I'm supposed to do this, I'm supposed to say that, I got to sit down, I got to do 3 Hail Marys, I got to jump over a broom, and then that's that, okay, so now I'm good.
Jump over a broom, I love it.
It's like, no, it's just like, all of this is, the Spirit is leading you the whole way.
Yeah.
So that's going to go into chapter 10 when I talk about communication. We have communication through device, through the internet, through TV, so many devices. Right. The new way of communication is through devices, through technology. There was a way that man originally was. All communication was telepathic.
Yes.
From the Creator, and then
Yep.
So to answer your question about writing things down, all this stuff done was through spirituality, through the Spirit. And a lot of this takes faith, right? Because we live in a very carnal world, it's physical. Where's the words at? Where's it written down? This is all done through Spirit. Spirit communicated this, and it was passed on. So there's definitely an element of faith that has to come into being, because he didn't write any of this stuff down. All this stuff was written down by his apostles, people who followed him, and they remembered this through the Spirit. But this is a way of life, Christ is saying. Now, I want to touch briefly on the hologram thing, because this is not a new idea. The Muslims, many of my Muslim brothers who I love dearly, and I know God loves, and I see as one with me, have believed this hologram idea. The first time I heard it was from a Muslim. He said the whole thing was a hologram. And I'm like, they had holograms back then? I remember, the first time the Muslim guy told me this idea. And I'm saying, okay, well, what about everything else? What about walking on water, the blind men seeing? It's like, no, it was just that. So the reason why I don't receive this idea is because it's not consistent. Now, of course, I've studied Christianity and Christ specifically very extensively, more so than the average person. And I have also challenged and have my own spiritual experience. And I respect the book. I respect all the Muslims, which are a couple billion people, and a lot of people who subscribe to this hologram idea of the crucifix. The reason why is because out of all of the miraculous things that happen, the ultimate demonstration of what the human body is capable of is raising yourself up from the dead. There's nothing beyond that. Now, people can be raised from the dead. It's happened. There's many accounts of that. That's a very bold claim that God can do that. So I personally believe it. I don't think it was a scam or a hoax or a hologram. I do, however, believe that people say, how can we use this power? How can we use this to manipulate and control these people? How can we take this and control the people? And I believe it's absolutely happened. I believe the whole Christianity faith, in a sense, has been hijacked. The whole institution. The whole institution. Now, I, in my own personal experience, and I can expound on this on a different video, have challenged some of these ideas in a very, very real way, and I've had some miraculous experience when it comes to life and death, but we can talk about it in other videos. But it was because I was the kid in Sunday school challenging these ideas that was given to me because I grew up Southern Baptist, which led me to some of the convictions I have now. But we can move on and talk about chapter 10. And,
yeah. Well, I have a couple things to say before we go to chapter 10. Thank you for sharing, Byron. And I think that, it's very important that we let you know that it is a free will universe. All things are allowed. If you believe in XYZ and that makes you happy and that is what you believe, and that doesn't go for you, it goes for anybody, that's fine. It's your choice, of course. We're stating what the book says. Yes. And, I think there's a lot of truth to this. I don't think there's a reason to doubt this. Like, I don't see why they would do this, like make this up. But, this is one text. This is one point of view. Yeah. And you can take it for what you like. Yeah. So anyway, the chapter ends telling you that it's always empowering. We're not the victim here. Something to think about is that you're not a victim. You're empowered. And the book says that with this, us remembering our amazingness, and us reconnecting our strands of DNA, and us reaching in and following our intuition and listening to our inner self and our intuition, that we'll be open to receiving light and love from the being sent to us from the motherships that are continuing to send it, and we'll receive it, and we'll be able to see through these holograms, and we'll be able to realize that they're using it to control us and not to provide us with light. So that's how the chapter ends. A nice ending, an empowering ending. And we're ready to chapter 10.
I'd just like to say, this is a lot that they throw on us. It's a big responsibility to be able to decipher all of this deception that they're talking about. Things that are actually look real, the whole masses and multiple accounts. That's a big responsibility to be able to, especially with the things they're saying are coming in the near future. A lot of stuff that's happened in the past, but how are you really supposed to know what's real and what's not real in this virtual world when it looks and it smells and now they have AI, right?
Deep fake. How about deep fake? Have you seen deep fake where they put the person's face inside a different person's body?
Yeah, and the technology is going 10 times every 6 months. The technology that you saw probably a month ago, 10 months from now, it's going to be 10 times faster and better. Yeah. And more dynamic. So imagine what the next few years is going to mean. You're not going to know if I'm having a real conversation with you or if it's a whole fake version of me. Right. A lot of this stuff they're saying is Elon Musk says is very real right now. He says he's seen, if you watch Joe Rogan, you probably may have seen Elon Musk saying that the stuff that he's seen will blow your mind, and it's so human-like, it's scary to the point where you're not going to know the difference between a computer and a human very soon. And he says this technology already exists. So it's a big responsibility to know what's real, what's not. And then we haven't even gotten to the UFOs, which is coming up right now, chapter 10. So here we go.
All right. So chapter 10 is called A New Paradigm of Light.
Yes. Please. So the first question he asks, beginning of the chapter is, who are the bringers of the dawn? And what is their role? The bringers of the dawn are those who carry the rays of the sun and bring light and knowledge. You are members of the bringers of the dawn. Otherwise, you would not be drawn to this book or this teaching. I think that that's just profound, just to say that's who you are. As soon as you read it, okay, you're one of us now, right? Because you've been exposed to this. It goes on to say, strength or weakness or influence are not necessarily to be compared. They are simply a stance that consciousness in its own dance of reality chooses to focus upon. So basically they're saying, I was reminded of when MLK said, if you can't fly, run. Can't run, walk. You can't walk, crawl. Basically, don't compare yourself to the Dalai Lama or someone who's this beacon of light and truth. Just do what you can on the direction of the path of the light. Don't compare yourself to other people. Whatever measure you can be on the family of light, just be that.
Right. I mean, that's a hugely important conversation.
Yeah.
You know, like here's a funny and silly example, but you go to the gym, right, and you see a guy lifting 90 pounds on each side of the bench, you know, and you know, 2 plates on each side, and you were like, well, I want to work out like him. You don't do that. You do what you can, but you still work out. You do what you're able to do. I play basketball. I'm not dunking doing 360 dunks, right? But I still can play basketball.
You got a heck of a J. I know for sure. I know that.
Right? So, you know, you still play. You still do what you can. You know, like MLK, you say you can't fly, but you can run. Well, can you run? Well, you can't. You walk. But you're out there. You're doing it, you know, to what you can do. Be a living example into what you're able to do. Push yourself, but within reason. Don't have conflict with yourself.
Yeah. And I honestly, not to dwell on it too much, I've struggled with this a lot in my life, and I can just be honest and say I compared myself to a lot of people. You know, I had a lot of ambitions, a lot of natural, lofty dreams as a kid, and I set a lot of standards. Then I relaxed into really just exploring and learning more about myself and appreciating it and knowing that I'm on my own path. You know what I mean? So I think that is, anyone can take that and run with it. I think it's a beautiful message. It goes on to say, this is the Pleiadians talking, basically. We teach you about yourself and assist you in unlocking what is inside of you, not what is outside of you. So if, you know, this is all about resonating with it's basically like awakening what you already know about yourself, which is a big way that I see Christ, referencing the previous chapter. I see Christ primarily as not only showing us who he is, but really who we are. I think that the main purpose is to say, this is who you are. You are capable of all this. In fact, he says, you will do greater than I will do. Well, that's a lie. If I can do greater than him, and that's my example, then I have a whole lifetime to explore what I can do. You know what I mean? I think it's a powerful idea. And that's what they say they come, to show us who we are. It says, you bring back to the planet, bringing about new evolution of humanity and make the cosmic evolutionary leap in awareness and intelligence possible by anchoring the frequency first inside your own bodies and living it. It's so funny, when I read this passage, I wrote, thy kingdom come, right? So this idea that Christ was saying, God, your kingdom come on earth as it is in heaven. So he believed that heaven could be earth. His prayer was, God, let your kingdom come on earth like it is in heaven. The ultimate highest frequency of love. Let that be on earth, right? And then it goes on and it got into it. And it said, you sometimes incarnate in these systems. Well, so no, let me back up. You operate by separating yourself into many multidimensional identities and then going into systems and changing them. So basically, we anchor this frequency within our own bodies. We kind of assimilate and learn the systems of the world that we live in. And then we go in there for the purpose of disrupting these systems. That's what we're here for. That's a big theme in this chapter, is that you are part of the family of light and you're here to bust the systems. That's why you're here. But you got to know the system. You know, it's like Picasso says, you got to know the rules in order to break them right. You know, you got to understand these systems. You got to understand the protocol. You got to know the basics. You got to I understand how this works. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, we chose to be here. We chose to come here and be part of this and be a system buster and to come down and experience this and raise the vibration of the earth and those around us and ourselves and to hold that frequency. So it's part of our plan.
Yeah, and it is say that in the chapter that we're here for the specific time with these conditions in order to be system busters. It's not coincidence that we're here during this time frame. Of course, it's always been tyranny, the last 300,000 years? The darkness has ruled according to this book. So at any time, you got work to do. but specifically those that are listening to this, they're here for this particular time, and they see there's problems. They see they have thoughts, they have instincts that aren't the mass ideas. Well, that's for a good reason, because you're a system buster, and that's why you're here. So you can go and follow that instinct, even though that's not the masses. You know, it says members of the dawn or the family of light work in teams. You don't go into systems alone. You need each other to do this work, because you cannot hold the frequency by yourselves. By going as teams, you increase the odds of success carrying out the plan. So also think about, in the Christian faith, it says, when two of you are gathered together in prayer, your prayers are amplified by 10. So 1 plus 1 doesn't equal 2, it equals 10.
Right. So like,
yeah.
So, you know, they say that you have a soul family. It's not in this book. In other texts, they talk about a soul family that we reincarnate together.
Yeah.
Many of us choose to come at the same time. Like, almost like if we're going to an amusement park and I call you and you call your girl and I call my girl and I call my friends and I call my cousin, my brother, you call your friends, and we're all going to go on Sunday to XYZ theme park. We all come together and go, and it's a lot more fun, and we can enjoy the ride a lot more.
Yeah.
This is kind of how this works. We have a soul family, and we incarnate with that soul family so that we can work together. And here we're on a mission. So we bring in and we come down with people who can help us, and we help them on this mission. And this could be your family, your direct family by blood. It could be your friends that you meet. It could be, you know, different teachers and mentors that come in your life. You know, we have relationships outside of this physical body.
Right. And that's the fun of it. The relationships, it's all within you, but it's activated when we connect with others, and then it's amplified. It's like two atoms coming together and creating an atomic bomb. Well, they both have that potentiality, but if something happens when those two atoms collide, it's more explosive than if they are apart. And that's part of the design. That's the whole fun of the game, right? Because it says these are the Pleiadians talking. We remind you that the Prime Creator creates it all, and endows all things with itself. Just as you seeking self-awareness, Prime Creator is mastering this as well. That's a deep idea. It's like the Prime Creating has got an infinite amount of experiences going on, and its consciousness is a part of all of that. The little butterfly that's flying in India right now, and the squid that is at the bottom of the ocean, if there's a such thing as that, or whatever. He's in the consciousness of every experience beyond this universe and all the universes, and he's experiencing it all, discovering himself. That idea is mind-blowing to me, that the dark, the light, the good, the bad, he's part of all the experience to learn about himself as the experience.
Yeah, I want to read the next part, please. Sorry, I just love it. It's so great. The Prime Creator seeks to be aware of itself within all things, and to endow the things that it is within with awareness that Prime Creator is in them and aware of its existence. That's so beautiful.
Yeah.
So beautiful.
Yeah.
I love that quote.
Yeah, it is. It is. And here's the thing, you know, in a lot of faiths, it says that all things are created by God and for God, and all things are created ultimately for Him. Right? That's good. That's bad experiences. And what is that true of, Leonard? You and I. All these experiences, good and bad, they're created for our betterment. You know? And so when we say, well, we're not disconnected for it, we have to embrace the idea that, man, all of this that I'm dealing with, I play a role in creating it for me.
This is actually a place where we come to experience and evolve our soul. So everything is here for us to continue to do so. It's like a university, you know, where there's tons of classes, there's extracurricular activities, there's sports, there's museums on campus, there's you know, classes and everything, and you can come in and you can learn and utilize all these things, or you can go to school and just hang out and play cards outside.
Right.
On the patio with your friends.
Yeah.
It's all available to you. It's your choice. You can go and take a class and learn, or you can go join a sports team and learn how to play sports, or you can go and eat lunch and ditch class and kick your feet up. You know, that's this earth is a place to do that.
Yeah.
So, but part of the experience here is taking those situations that arise and using them as catalysts to evolve our soul and spiritual growth, and to learn that the prime creator is within us and we are all one.
Right. It goes on to say, many kingdoms of consciousness exist. Kingdoms of consciousness are fancy words and concepts that we like to use so you grasp what we're saying. So they're just being a little funny here. They call it kingdoms of consciousness, which I think is really cool, because it's like I mentioned earlier, when the Lord's Prayer was, "Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven," and it's really kind of the idea that kingdoms are states of mind, right? So the reality that I'm in is a state of mind, and you live in a certain state of mind, and everyone has a certain state of mind. So it's like the hip hop rapper that says, "I only talk about drugs and killing and bitches and all this stuff that they say, because this is the reality that I know." Well, yeah, that's the consciousness that you're in, and it has a lot to do with the fact that you succumb to your environment, but it doesn't have to be your reality. You can be in a different kingdom. You can be in a different state of mind. So they kind of go into this a lot about kingdoms of consciousness. And then they say, within kingdoms of consciousness, there are lightness of energy, and there are many kinds of kingdoms of consciousness. The family of light comes in a particular kingdom of consciousness. So you being a part of the family of light, you're in a kingdom. We're in a kingdom together, right? We're in a state of being, as if we were a nation without borders. But someone else lives in a whole nother state, a whole nother existence. They might be right next to you on the train. So what we want to do is bring that kingdom into their kingdom and expose it with light. So chew on that for a minute. Hold on.
Yeah, it's quite interesting. I mean, this book has brought so much information to light. Pardon the pun.
Yeah.
It's really eye-opening, because it's giving us a wider perspective. You know, like you said, the rapper only sees, not all rappers, of course, but that rapper that you referenced only sees XYZ. It's because that's his level of consciousness. This book allows you to widen your perspective and see outside of your city, your neighborhood, your city, your state, your country, your hemisphere, your Earth, and your planet, and so on and so forth. It kind of gives you that wider perspective to look at things a little bit differently, and that's really, really great. And then the book goes on to talk about UFOs, which is very, very interesting. Would you want to discuss it?
Well, yeah, it says, I know there's a lot to cover in these chapters. I'm going through it as fast as I can, guys. It goes into UFOs. It says, many extraterrestrials who are curious about life forms know how to rearrange their molecular structure and come into the planet disguised as humans. So there's a lot of entities that are curious. They have free will.
Men in Black, right? True.
Yeah. I mean, and I really believe this. I believe that there's a big, wide, vast amount of species that are spirits that can manifest and look like humans, and they are walking among us. But here's where it goes after it says that. It says this is in times of tremendous change, when dimensions have the potential to merge and collide. As you are setting up here for Earth, there is a great gathering of energies that come, particularly in the Big Show.
Just the Big Show, yeah. It's a hot spot, and people are coming down. They want to see it. They want to be part of it. They want to take in the energy. They want to soak it in. So they're coming down.
Yeah. And so I just thought of this in terms of there's always the saying that we were growing up, and my family would say, be nice to strangers because you might be entertaining angels, which is also a scripture. What does that mean? It means that you might be entertaining extraterrestrials and having a conversation with them. They look like humans.
Right.
So this is also a lot of these, I say a lot of these references, Leonard, because a lot of these ideas, they've been said in little nuggets in different scriptures and different religious books throughout centuries to billions of people. And so a lot of this just kind of, it resonates, mirrors So I just kind of use it as a reference. And look, we're getting close to the close here. Let's see. As members of the family of light, you have incarnated on this planet to prepare yourselves to do your work. What is your work? Drum roll. This is what they're saying our work is. Your work is quite simple. You carry frequency into systems that have limited light frequency, because light is information. This is not cold computer data information. This is information that is transmitted biologically through an electromagnetic send out of consciousness. This is what you are experts in. If you were to have a business card printed up for yourself when you are in full memory of your identity, you would say something like, renegade member of the family of light, system buster, available for altering systems of consciousness within the free will universe. That's your business card. And this is why you come. And I think that's probably a good place. I mean, we could go longer, but that encompasses why we're here and what we're here to do. And we're here to disrupt things, get into some good trouble. As they say, John Lewis, it was his slogan. We're here to get into some good trouble, disrupt things, shake stuff up.
Right.
That's fun.
So we hope you guys enjoyed this these 2 chapters of Bringers of the Dawn. Give us a comment below. Let us know what you think of the hologram and many of the concepts here. We'd love to entertain conversations about this. Give us a like, give us a subscribe. Spread the light, be a living example. We appreciate you. Check out our affirmations videos. Check out our quotes videos. Spend some time on the channel. We really want to help elevate consciousness, and we appreciate you coming on this ride with us. Signing out, Hollywood Frequency. Thank you.